My name is Kwami Ahiabenu. I work with Penplusbytes. Our organization is devoted to make a better world through the use of technology in the area of governance, accountability, and transparency. We've been working with the media to ensure that they can utilize technology to improve on the quality of journalism. In a way, without journalism, democracy as we know it will not be possible, because the oversight responsibility of the media will not be there.
In January, you're publishing a book that looks at the future of the newsroom in Africa, which is the impact of digital on traditional media, particularly press. Tell me, what are your findings in that book?
We organized in August this year a very important event on the future of the news. We realized that the traditional journalism and the media as we have is changing. Every day, people now turn to their WhatsApp for news instead of buying the newspaper. We are realizing that radio stations are growing, but however, people are going to websites of those radio stations to go and consume their news. In this direction, we brought a panel of experts together to discuss how the future of news is going to look like. In the future, we're going to have journalists, or we're going to have some people performing the role of journalism in context of generation of news. Now, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, we are publishing a book. One of the key findings that came out of this event was that the mobile phone companies like MTNs are going to be very critical in the future of news, in the sense that they are not carrying content, they are not pushing content. However, for traditional newspapers, if they go into a revenue sharing with MTN, for example, the share is greatly not in their favor. So the question now becomes, how do we ensure that there's a level playing field? How do we ensure that journalism as we have it can still prosper
and survive in context of all these changes? Are we now going to have newsrooms in the mobile phone companies, and we no longer have maybe newspapers as we used to have it? Another area of concern which will come out quite strongly is that for you to consume content like this video that we're producing, you need bandwidth. However, the cost of bandwidth is not growing any but lower, it's increasing. And for people to invest money in watching a full-length video, it's a huge commitment. And indeed, if there's quite good 4G here in Ghana with companies like Surfline, but the costs are prohibitive for the average person. Yeah, for the average person. Yeah. And now we are been talking about the cities. When you leave to other parts of the country, access becomes a big issue. So the irony is that we are making progress towards the future, but the drivers in terms of access, cheap and affordable technology does not exist. So it means that newsrooms want to stick to their traditional model of revenue making, because the investment in the future will not return revenue for them today. Yeah. And that's a serious dilemma. Yeah. Let's move on now. You were talking to me earlier about a group of social media activists in Western region. Yeah. Describe to me what they're doing with social media.
This is a group of young people who are quite bright, a lot of energy, and they believe that social media can be used for change. So they use social media like WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter to mobilize. One of the things they did recently was to paint zebra crossing on roads which are faded. So this is an example of mobilization, but for some social good.
And lastly, you're running the New Media Hub here. What does New Media Hub here in Accra do?
The New Media Hub is focused on how can we ensure that traditional newsrooms as we have it are not left behind. How can we ensure that engagement tools are made available at an affordable rate? How can we provide space for people who want to co-share offices to have an affordable space to enable their creativity happen? So the New Media Hub is established as a space, a physical space for people to come in, work towards change, innovate, and more importantly, figure out a sustainable way of making sure some of these bright ideas we have can have resources, financial, to support them. because all these ideas have to be paid for. The traditional model of having donors supporting is good, but to a certain extent, we need to find creative ways of supporting them, which means that we have to look at maybe micropayments that allow people to make some small payment to make some of these ideas grow.